Can you tell me a bit about your organisation and the type of work that you do?
Sure. We are LYCS. LYCS is a big community development organisation. It has 4 projects, one of which is the adult programme. And myself and my colleague Helena are based in the adult programme, and we do development education, which is trying to link local and global issues together, especially at a community level.
And can you tell me a little bit about the types of partnerships or collaborations that you've undertaken over the years?
We've done loads of different ones. Because we do training for trainers and projects with participants of all descriptions, lots of different target groups, we have collaborated over long periods of time with organisations to actually design projects. And then we've done smaller, say just on a one-day workshop, we might get together with the Latin America Solidarity Centre or AFRI, or that they would be examples of people within our own field. But we also go outside our field and work with, say, migrants organisations, community garden networks, all kinds of different ones, really to get for us to get access to their participants. So there's a multiplier effect. So we're training people within other organisations who could then reach their own groups.
And typically, how do these partnerships or collaborations evolve? Do they happen organically, or do you seek them out?
Bit of both. Traditionally, we would have networked more and more with, or most of all, I suppose, with community development organisations and family resource centres. But say since the economic crash, most of those organisations became ridiculously underfunded, and staff were under so much pressure that we've had to widen our circle more and more into other NGOs. These networks like Fulcher Island would be one of them, the community garden networks, as I mentioned, or recently we collaborated with a network of community radio practitioners. So those ones would happen. Sometimes they come to us and they say, we heard about you through your website or through contact, and we'd be interested in making those local global links. What can you do with us? And we design a bespoke training for them. Or sometimes, like, we've put the word out that we're looking for collaborative partnerships. Say for example, we've one training on women's issues, so we were actively looked for organisations that we could work with around women's issues. And just looked and sent out emails and see what would come back.
And is there any one partnership that you would like to highlight that has been particularly effective, and why that might be?
Yeah, well, the one that we did recently that I really enjoyed doing, it was an accredited FETAC 6 level training in global development, and we usually run this. We rent a space in Dublin and advertise it widely to individuals and organisations. But last year we had the opportunity to do it in Mosney, which is one of the direct provision centres for asylum seekers. It came about because a former FETAC 6 level participant lived there. She was an asylum seeker herself, and she, by whatever means she had, was able to commute from Meath to Dublin and participate in the course. But that isn't available to most asylum seekers living in Mosney. So one of the social workers from Mosney contacted us and asked us if we could run our training, the whole training, in Mosney. So we thought this was a really good opportunity to reach asylum seekers who wouldn't normally be able to do any accredited training at that level, and by widening the training to people working in Meath or Dublin, it also provided an amazing collaboration and sort of learning that brought asylum seekers and people in the host community together over the course of 3 or 4 months to discuss global issues at a really great level. So that was amazing.
Just overall, what would you say are the wider benefits of working in partnerships?
You get to reach so much more people, and outside your own traditional target group, you might you get to sort of cross-fertilise opinions and interests. Like, say you might have a training where you have youth workers who are working in the heart of Dublin City, mixing with people who are more, say, NGOs working overseas. So there's that cross-fertilisation. Or so again, migrants meeting host community members. I suppose, you can plan ahead and try to sort of get the needs of both organisations met as well through partnerships. But yeah, I think in terms of the richness of the learning and the reach to other people, it's great. It's a really good way.
And what about barriers? Have you ever encountered many barriers or obstacles along the way?
I suppose sometimes a partnership might sound like a great idea, but actually the needs might be slightly different. So you just need to be really clear about clear in the communication up front. So say we've asked other organisations to facilitate parts or input parts of our trainings, but maybe they wouldn't be as interactive as we'd like, or things like that. So maybe there's a need for really sussing out the styles of learning, making sure that they're compatible with each other. What else? Funding can be another issue, because sometimes an organisation might really like the idea of working together, but the funding doesn't really allow it. So ideally, you would ask for the funding in advance, but that's quite time consuming, so you'd have to, or it's over a long time period, so you have to think about that in advance.
Have you any tips on how to manage partnerships effectively?
Communication is really important. Don't even think that there's a question too basic to answer or to ask, or other. What do you guys want out of this? What are you looking for? Who's going to report this in the funding reports? Who's going to how are we going to describe who did what? Making sure that everyone gets their needs met, that nobody feels like, oh, we did loads of that work, but we weren't given the credit, or we didn't get to put forward our point of view. I think forward planning and taking funding into consideration, and then keeping communication channels open about everything, and being honest in terms of your needs and what you're actually prepared to do, and as well not overestimating the capacity you have in terms of time and resources, because it might actually represent an added load of work that you hadn't envisaged. So you might get carried away with enthusiasm but not actually be able to deliver. And then the other organisation might feel let down, and I suppose that comes to another point of, say if you write into your funding proposal you're going to work with such and such an organisation, and then for whatever reason they get their funding slashed, or somebody goes out sick, that can destroy your whole project, as in you have to then explain to funders why you didn't go ahead with that project and come up with something else at the last minute.
And finally, just with the onset of Brexit, the election of Trump, a lot of kind of new politics in the area of racism and division, what do you think the dev ed sector in particular needs to do more of in terms of opening up to other sectors? Can you see any other opportunities for widening the base for partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, I think at a grassroots level there should be a lot of education, and well, not just education but development education style inquiry. So we're looking into some neighbourhood cafe style meetings, for example, which would target local community organisations who might not necessarily have any dev ed experience, or really they wouldn't really be organisations that would look at the global traditionally. They would be serving the local neighbourhood. So sort of family orientated projects and so forth. So I suppose via those organisations who are on the front line, trying to get dialogue orientated events up and running, so people can actually have the space to voice whatever it is that's the fears that are on their mind, or the new challenges in terms of a climate that's a bit more polarised. So I think opening up to more grassroots organisations is a good idea. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.